Good morning, guys. It's much later now, 8:47 in fact, and I haven't even explained what this video is. So, long story short, I have an extensive TBR, physical and otherwise, and a lot of books that I've carried over from February into now March, and it's March 4th. So, I had the idea to wake up every day at 5 a.m. until I finish all of the books that I'm in the middle of right now. I think this is going to help because Cole and I both have a lot of activities that happen in the afternoon after work. And then on the one day that we don't, which is Thursdays, I don't want to have my face in a book when I could be spending time with him doing something. So I want to hopefully no longer than like a week maybe wake up earlier than I usually do, which I usually get up around it really depends on how much sleep I got and stuff, because sleep is very important to me. So depending on if I went to bed on time or not, I get up between 6:30 and 7:45 to go to work at 8 to 8:30. If I wake up at 5 a.m., I'm going to have at least an hour and a half to 2.5 hours extra time in the morning to read or do whatever I need to do so that I can read more later. Let me go over what I'm reading. So, first thing, I've been reading this for at least a month now, is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and it's actually so good. I really love these characters, specifically Wendell, who is the male main character, but what this book is actually about is Emily Wilde. She's a researcher at Cambridge, and she is working on an encyclopedia of fairies. So she's going to this very obscure winter wonderland where they have a lot of their own very specific fairy lore, and so she's going to research that. Her colleague from Cambridge, who she has a love-hate relationship with, they have an appreciation towards each other, so you can tell that. And the subtlety of that affinity that they have for each other is really well written, and the banter is really funny. Okay, I was just watching that clip back and realized I of course did not actually explain or finish my thought. Her frenemy colleague from Cambridge shows up at her expedition that she's on to research with her, essentially. So yeah, he shows up there. That is where we see all of their banter and whatnot, because he shows up on the trip, which I did not state. Okay, thank you. And this is the type of fairy book that I really enjoy, where it sticks to the more traditional lore of fairies. But yeah, I started out this morning on 195, I think, and now I'm on 236. So I got a good chunk done before I said, let me just close my eyes for a few minutes, and then it was an hour later when I opened them again. So I'm not mad at it, but I have 236 to 317, so I have less than 100 pages left of this one that I want to get done. Next is one that's actually not in front of me right now. I am reading Call Down the Hawk by, I forget who it's by. I feel like her name is Mary or something. I'll put it on the screen, but I randomly came across this book and got it on Libby on my Kindle. I am gonna say I'm about 20-ish% into that. The premise is just very, very interesting. I'm not far enough to know where the story is going, but I do know that it's about dreaming, and there are specific people in this world who, when they dream, their dreams come to life, whether it's good or bad. And we're following 3 brothers, and one of the brothers very consistently has these dreams that come to life. And it's also explained that these people are hunted down and killed because seems like a dangerous ability to have, especially when you can't control it always. So I really don't know where it's going more so than that, but it was a really interesting premise, and I liked the way that it started out being written. The author has it's not even necessarily flowery writing, but she really personifies a lot of elements of the outdoors, the sun or the wind or things like that. So I'm enjoying the writing on that so far, but I've got quite a bit to go on that one. Last book that I want to start and finish physically is The Island of Last Things, because this one is a library book, and I actually saw this last time I went to Barnes & Noble, and then I saw it again propped up at the library, and I said this is my sign to get it, but now I have to actually read it before my library loan is up. And I really don't know anything about it, but the cover was like super intriguing, so I'll just read the inside and we'll find out together. Camille has always preferred animals to people. The wild has nearly disappeared, but as a zookeeper at the last zoo in the world on Alcatraz Island, she spends her days caring for playful chimpanzees, gentle tree frogs, and a restless jaguar. Outside, the resistance groups fight to shape the world's future, but Camille is safe within her routines. That is, until the new zookeeper, Sailor, arrives. From the first meeting, Camille is drawn to Sailor, who seems to see something in Camille that no one has before. They bond over their shared passions and dream of ways to improve their lives. When Sailor whispers the story of an idyllic secret sanctuary where wild animals roam free, Camille begins to imagine a new kind of life with Sailor by her side. Sailor knows all too well the dangers beyond Alcatraz, but she increasingly chafes at the zoo's rigid rules. She hatches a reckless plan to smuggle one of the most prized animals off the island to freedom and invites Camille to join her. The consequences, if they fail, could be catastrophic, and Camille must decide if she's ready to risk everything for the promise of a better world. Propulsive and fiercely hopeful with a heart-stopping final twist, the Island of Last Things is an elegy for disappearing world and a gorgeous vision for the future. That sounds so intriguing. And I just love this cover. Like, yeah. And this one's short. This is, ooh, wow. This is about 260 pages. Exactly, actually. Finally. And then I'm done talking about this. I am reading on audio Haley Pham's new book. I am about 16% in. I started it yesterday at work, and I'll probably continue listening while I work today. And I'm doing this despite not seeing a single good review of it yet. To be quite frank, I think people are being pretty harsh on her because of the position that she's in. I want to give it a try. I've watched her videos since like literally probably 2016. I'm just very excited to see her writing style and the story that she's come up with. And at 16% in, I can say I don't hate it yet. And I will also say this. I like reading and listening to rom-coms as like good palate cleansers. It's definitely nowhere near my favorite genre to read, so I feel like my opinion should be taken with a grain of salt, but it's pretty in line with like a typical romance that I would read so far. So I'm really not hating it. There are a couple points where the prose has felt like the slightest bit unnatural, just in like a word or two, but for the most part, it flows pretty nicely so far. But yeah, that's what I'm reading this week. Day one of waking up at 5 a.m. is complete. I'll catch up either next time I read or do something semi-interesting. We will see.
Good morning, guys. It's day 2 of waking up at 5 a.m. I know my last video I said I hated the mini mic, but I am bringing her back because, first of all, I just don't have the energy to speak louder than the decibel that I'm speaking at right now. But also, Cole is still sleeping in the other room, as most humans are right now, so I'm trying to be quiet. I actually did not sleep the best last night because Cole is like mega sick right now, and so I just heard him coughing all night, and first of all, felt really bad for him. And then my second thought is, wow, I really hope I don't get sick. And so I slept with my head like in the corner of the bed away from him to keep it as far away from him as possible. With all the love in my heart, it had to be done. So I didn't sleep like great. And I think that if I start getting sick, I must cut the 5 a.m. waking up immediately because I hate being sick. I'm unwilling to do it for longer than needed. Clearly. Does anybody get sick on purpose? So this video will continue as long as I succeed in that. I, as suspected, did not get to any more of Emily Wilde's last night. However, to and from my tab class, I listened to Just Friends by Haley Pham. I watched her video that she posted yesterday about writing the story, and I was like oddly parasocially proud of her for all the work that she put into it. Like, the process was a long one, and she just like was very proud of herself, and her friends were all very proud of her. So, but anyways, I did get to almost 50% in that book. I'm still not hating it, but I have gotten to my first couple like bigger problems. The first one is the use of similes is a lot. It's a lot. I feel like a couple of them have literally just been so like, I don't want to say like misplaced, but either they just don't quite make sense in the context or it's just too much. And along with that, there are just a lot of words, a lot of adjectives. My bigger problem right now is the familial situation, especially in regards to money. And maybe I just really don't understand it, this family dynamic that we have going on here. But she said multiple times that Lottie, who is her aunt, was like her second mother. She grew up in this town with her, she lived with her, and her mother also lived with her. And she was able to do all this in this town, live, go to school, exist in the world that she was in, because Lottie presumably had money. She owned 7 grocery stores, I think it is, and Blair, the main character's mom, works at one of these grocery stores. And her whole thing is that she wants to like retire her mom, and she wants to go get a really good job at a good college so that she can like pay for her mom or whatever. But then she can't actually go to any college unless she has a full ride scholarship because she doesn't have any money. And I'm just confused because if Lottie is like helping you to have the life that you have now, why would that just immediately stop at college? I don't know, I'm just very confused by that. And also, like, this is not a spoiler because this is the reason she has gone back to her hometown that she's in. But Lottie passes away, and then Blair's mom, a week or so later, is explaining to her that she read the will. And not only did Lottie have a second house that she left to Blair, but she also left her house and 7 grocery stores to her mom. And they're like bewildered and baffled by this. Like she says, like her jaw's on the floor. And they are the only other family, the only other relation to Lottie that's ever mentioned. And so I'm just confused as to why they're so shocked by this. And like also why the mom is just like a cashier at one of the stores, seemingly not making a lot of money when she could be like I'm sure you have a higher position for your 7 stores that you're running than just a cashier. Like, and maybe this is just again a dynamic that I do not understand because I don't have it, but the problem with the romance is that she is not going to be able to go to a school near Declan, who is the MMC, because she has only gotten a full ride at Pepperdine, and he has gotten in at Notre Dame, which this is also interesting. He gets in at Notre Dame and like basically tells her to not go to college and to just follow him there. And Notre Dame was his dream school, but like you didn't get into any other schools. Like they're acting like this is the only option, and he like doesn't want to call it quits. So like, why don't you just pick a different school? Like he's very convinced that he's going to the NFL. I'm certain that another college in California has given you a chance. I don't know. Anyways, I do like the romance. It's very sweet. And the past timeline is in high school, so it's like a little juvenile, but it's done well, I think, actually. So, yeah. Still enjoying. I'm going to read more of this. I probably have just yapped for like 10 minutes now, but I do feel more awake to read my book now, so I'm going to do that. Should really check if this is actually on and working, but I just sat down, so. Good morning, guys. It's day 3 of waking up at 5 a.m. and we did it successfully again. It really has not been that bad. The only problem is that when my eyes first open, my brain is like, you don't have to. What do you have to get up for? You can read later. So it's really good that I'm doing this video because I think if I wasn't, I would definitely just be like, you know what, you're right.
and then go back to sleep. But now I'm like, the video is relying on you getting up at 5 a.m. And then I'm able to get up. Get up is maybe an overstatement because, for example, today I laid in bed and read on my phone for a minute, but nonetheless I was reading. And I will also say that I have definitely been reading more during this challenge than I would have if I was not waking up at 5 a.m. I did actually finish Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies yesterday. I rated it 4 stars. That book is so good. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but it is a cozy fantasy. So it has all of the descriptions and the elements that make you feel very at ease when you're reading it. However, there's enough plot to keep you invested the entire time. Like, I was always waiting to see what would happen next. And I feel like that is a hard line to balance in a cozy fantasy, and I think this one did it very well. I also liked the writing a lot. I do understand that this is probably not everyone's preferred style of writing. It is wordy. You're probably thinking, you just said Just Friends was wordy and you didn't like that. Well, this was wordy in a good way. It feels like every word has its purpose and fits nicely into the sentence structure that it's in. All that to say, I'm actually really excited for the next Emily Wilde and what that story will presumably bring. Yeah, I thought it was witty. I thought it was fun and funny and cozy, all the good things. So that one was a 4 star. I also did get further in Just Friends, and other than the couple like plot holes, I will call them, I am actually enjoying the characters a lot. I'm enjoying their relationships with each other a lot. I think at the heart of it, it's a really good premise and has good commentary on like grief and relationship and how people deal with it. I especially like how she's talking about her relationship with her mom and how her mom like is unwilling to let her in, I guess, and how that is like fracturing their relationship, even though she's trying to do this to make sure like her and her daughter have a good, calm relationship, but that's not what Blair wants. So I actually really like that dynamic that we're getting a lot, and I think I like their relationship. It is kind of mundane, but like the issue that separates them makes sense. So yeah, that one is going fine so far. Now, last update. I am, as of this morning after my little reading in bed session, I am 13% into Call Down the Hawk. And I feel like there's really not a ton to say on this more than I explained yesterday. We're very much still trying to figure out this world, and it is an interesting style of writing where I still don't know who wrote this, but the author has put you into the story everything is really ramping up, and so there's not a lot of explanation on the world or building of the world in the way that it's explained to you. So it's a little more brain power than I prefer to use when reading a fantasy. I will say we've been introduced to, well, actually this character was introduced at the beginning. I just kind of forgot about her, but she seems to be working with a band of people who are out to kill these dreamers that are creating life in mayhem and other things, creating reality from their dreams. The reason for this is because they also have these things called visionaries who seem to also be dreamers, but maybe in a different way. And they have all said that one of these Zeds or dreamers is going to bring the end of the world. So this seems to be the primary reason for hunting them down. Yeah, that's where I'm at for this morning. This like speaking and explaining my thoughts early in the morning is actually really helping to wake me up a little bit. But I'm gonna keep reading. I'm gonna drink my tea. Good morning, guys. Today is day 4 of waking up at 5 a.m. It's actually 5:50 right now because I laid in my bed for 30 minutes. It's Saturday.
Can I start by saying that? I'm gonna start by saying I look like an egg because I'm going on a run. Does that look better? Truly, you can't see anything. No.
Hi guys, I haven't updated you for this morning yet because I did successfully wake up at 5 a.m. this morning. I just so happened to lay in bed for 30 minutes because it's Saturday and nobody wants to wake up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday. However, I did persevere and I got up and I went to go do my run this morning at 6 a.m. at the gym, and upon my arrival, I realized that they don't open till 7. So I went to Kroger, ran a little errand real quick, came back, dropped it off, went back to the gym, did my run, and then came home, showered, and got ready because we have a road trip to take today back to the old hometown because I am doing some ceramics because I have a ceramics membership there, so I'm doing that before it expires for the month, and just seeing some family and stuff. So all that to say, I've done very, very minimal reading today. I listened to a little bit of Call Down the Hawk at the start of my run until I just couldn't take it anymore and I had to put music on. So I think I'm about 22-ish% in that. We're just starting to see how all the characters are maybe like going to come together. I still don't know like what their relations will be to each other. I mean, obviously one of them is like a hunter of these dreamers, one's a dreamer, and then one character that is introduced is a dreamer, but she's also like a forger of art. Like she replicates exact copies of famous art pieces or art pieces from famous artists and sells them for a lot of money. And her like plotline is very interesting. Like hers I think is the most, I don't know what's gonna happen with it because that is like seemingly such a random thing. And her thing is that so she's a dreamer, so anything she dreams, not anything, but some of the things she dreams comes to life. And she has been dreaming copies of herself, and I think they're up to like 6 copies of herself now. And these are like fully functioning people. So yeah, really interesting. I'm seeing how they're about to meet each other, but I don't know where it's gonna go from there. So I don't remember the last things I've said because all my clips have been like early in the morning and I'm half awake at that point. I finished Just Friends and I gave that one a 2.75. Now listen, I don't think that this is a bad book. However, in terms of relationship, I actually really I like a no spice, I like a chill, like we don't have to be doing something crazy out here for me to like the romance. And like I said before, I like her relationship with other people. I liked some of the dynamics and conversations around grief and like trying to pull things out of your parents almost, and like not only like seeing them as real 3-dimensional humans, but like having them allowing you to see them as that, if that makes sense. I liked a lot of that. Where my issues were things I already mentioned, like the writing style, not my favorite, a little wordy, too many similes, and there were just some plot points that I think had holes in them and maybe could have been thought through a little bit better, but I think there's a lot of potential here. I did not hate it. I know 2.75 doesn't sound like a great rating, but like a 3 stars average, like middle of the road, and I thought it was just slightly under that. Finished those 2, which means I have 2 more, one that I haven't even started, and Call Down the Hawk, which I'm, as I said, about 22-ish, I think, % through it. Thoughts on actually waking up at 5 a.m. It's not going too bad so far. Unfortunately, I will admit that I get a lot more done waking up at 5 a.m. I do. You heard it here first, folks. Hi, buddy. So yeah, it's not been like incredibly difficult, but I do notice myself getting tired like way earlier in the day than I would normally. And also my freaking eye twitch is back. I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but for like literal months, I had like an eyelid twitch and it like finally disappeared, and now getting less sleep because I haven't really been going to bed any earlier, which my bedtime's like 10:30 at the latest. Anyways, she's starting to make her return, which I don't like. Another thing I'll say about waking up at 5 a.m. is that since I don't want to do it and the prerequisite for not doing it is finishing the books I'm in the middle of, I do want to read a lot more, so motivation, I guess. Like I said, we're gonna do a little road trip today, and hopefully I can swindle Cole into driving so that I can read and hopefully get through a lot more of Call Down the Hawk. Maybe tomorrow, that's really wishful thinking. I'm gonna say like hopefully Monday can be my last day waking up at 5 a.m. I literally have to put this in because Piper would not stop hollering until I laid down, and then this is where she wanted to lay. Things are going horribly wrong. Yeah, it's done.
Wait, that's kind of cute though. That right there. I do love working over here just because, like my crazy.
Well, you're sponge fries, but the reason why I asked was if you want.
What would one do with this? I don't know.
What I just
Put one pen in there.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a spout.
Hi guys, I hope this isn't terrible lighting. It's clearly not morning time. It is probably about 4:30 right now on Sunday, the 5th day that I was supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. And that simply did not happen for an abundance of reasons, so let me tell you why. We didn't get home until about 11:30 last night, and well before then, I knew for a fact I was not waking up at 5 a.m. this morning because I have officially contracted whatever sickness Cole was carrying around. And so I woke up very unwell this morning, and that was unfortunate because I had a lot of things planned for the day. And when I first woke up, I was like, well, I canceled my plans for the day. And then my second thought was, well, at least I can get a lot of reading done today. And then I slept literally all day long. I woke up to eat this morning. I watched like a YouTube video and showered and stuff, and then I literally fell asleep until like 4 o'clock. And again, it's about 4:30 now. And when I woke up, it was sunny and 60, and it has not been that for a long time. So that made me even more depressed, and I literally had to come out for the last few hours of the day. I'm finally going to read a little bit for today, and I'm filming it regardless of my lack of 5 a.m. rising because I don't know. That's the point of the video, to read these books and finish these books. I actually think I'm going to start The Island of Last Things because this just seems like a book you would read out in the sun more so than Call Down the Hawk. I have my throat coat tea here. I have a couple snacks in case I want to snack out here, and I think I'm going to spend literally the rest of the day until the sun goes down out here because the sun really makes such a big difference in my mood. And since I couldn't do the things I wanted to do today, at least I can get some sun. I was supposed to run 5 miles. I was supposed to have a game day with my friends. Oh, these people are walking past and my phone's on a tripod. That was hot. Oh my gosh. Everything's going wrong right now. I literally can't look up or they'll see me.
Hi guys, I have a couple things to admit to you. Number one, it's not the next day. And number two, it's certainly not 5 a.m. And I haven't woken up at 5 a.m. for the past like 3 days now. This all comes down to the fact that I was sick and have truly been spending most of my time sleeping, if not at work. I have been reading a little bit. I'm on chapter 32 of Call Down the Hawk, and I am on page 32 of The Island of Last Things. Safe to say I don't have much to say about this yet. It's giving very much eerie vibes so far, but I'm really liking it, and it really has me interested in what's going to happen within the story. I'll explain more on that later when I'm more into it and I have my bearings there. Call Down the Hawk, however, I think I mentioned in a different clip that something about it just like wasn't drawing me in like I wanted it to, and I think I figured out what that is, because I really am enjoying the story. This is what it is. For every one thing that's explained in this world, because this is a fantasy, and so there's world building to be had, for every one thing explained, there is one cryptic element added to which we do not know the answer or the purpose of. And so it's like constantly it's so unsatisfying to always have these questions. It's almost a hopeless feeling of like, okay, I'm not gonna get it. I'm just simply not. So that's what I'm feeling with this one. I'm 42% into it, so I'm thinking that there's not much more that can be introduced and not explained at this point, so I'm feeling a little bit better about it. Pretty much we have one character who dreams, one character who's hunting dreamers, and one character who needs something from the dreamer because of the dreams she has. Again, you're gonna say to yourself, that sounds really convoluted and cryptic and I don't understand what you're saying. And to that I say, right. So I'm gonna sit and get a little bit more of this done, and then hopefully, guys, tomorrow, I can't promise a 5 a.m. wake up because I am still feeling the residual effects of the illness, but maybe we can get like a 6 a.m. and then maybe the next day we'll do like a 5 a.m. again, and then I think hopefully at least these 2 books will be done. I literally lied, because why is there a new character and a new perspective being introduced right now?
Hi. I quite literally don't know when the last time I filmed was, but it is now the 15th of March. Here's what happened. I mean, you guys know I got sick, and then, well, that's pretty much it. I got sick, work was busy, I was just trying to get enough sleep to, like, get well again. And so, unfortunately, this video suffered the consequences of that before anything else suffered. So, I have still been reading. I just have not been filming it, nor have I been waking up at 5 a.m. However, tomorrow is Monday. I go back to work just from the weekend when I have been off, and it's going to be a super, super busy week. And so tomorrow is the day that I'm getting back up at 5 a.m. and hopefully finishing this book, because I did this morning finish Call Down the Hawk. I ended up rating it a 3.75 stars, I think. It was one of the most unique fantasy plot lines I've read in a long time, and I really like how developed the characters were and how fleshed out the story was. I liked the writing style. I liked a lot of aspects about it. I wish that the format that it was written in was a little bit more concise. But also, it has come to my attention that this is a sequel series to the Raven Cycle or the Raven Boys. I don't know what the actual series is called. I don't know if that necessarily would have impacted the way I understood the book. I think maybe the characters a little bit better, but from what I read in the reviews of people who have read both series, is that it didn't help necessarily in the plot line. But I also, from those reviews, I think I'm glad that I read this first because a lot of people read it, it seems, and thought it would be like very similar or a straight continuation pretty much of the Raven Boys series, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. I am intrigued now to read the Raven Boys though because I have heard good things about it, and I've heard it. It wasn't really on my radar to read though, so I don't know. I will say for this series in particular, this book, one of the drawbacks besides the formatting, I guess, was that I think it's about 10% too long. Like at the end, I was like, oh my gosh, we're still going on this. And this is one of those fantasy series where it doesn't have like a clean bow on the plot line of the first book at the end of the first book, and then a little setup for the rest of the series. There was no resolution really to anything at the end of this. So if you want to know literally the resolution to this current problem that has been going on for the entire book, you're going to have to read the second book. And I think if that wasn't the case, I would have been content to just call it a day and pretend this is a standalone novel. Yeah, it was an enjoyable read. And like I said, now I'm going back to the Island of Last Things. At this point, this is probably literally past due at the library, so hoping that's not the case. But I do want to finish it by literally tomorrow. I'm literally only on page 32, so I'm going to read a little bit tonight, probably until I fall asleep. And then tomorrow, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., hopefully get a big chunk done in the morning, and then finish up whatever else I have at night, and hopefully finish this video. And that's really it. Oh, also, guys, this is in no way, shape, or form related to this video, but look at this copy of Little Women I got. It's literally so pretty. And it's from TJ Maxx for $13. Oh, so pretty. Good morning, everybody. I am back, and I'm freaking tired. I'm not gonna lie, I did not want to get up this morning, but I somehow persevered, and here I am. But I did get real cozy for a second, and I knew that if I remained in that position for any longer, I would be asleep very quickly. So, I have a Vivi prebiotic energy. This is from Aldi, and it's very clearly a knockoff of Bloom's, which are currently my favorite energy drink. Not that I drink energy drinks a lot, but if I'm going to, it's going to be a Bloom probably. It doesn't taste like the Bloom raspberry lemon, but it's really good. Also, the other days when I started yapping in the morning, it woke me up a little bit, so I figured I would talk about my book a little bit. I'm 54 pages into it. I know I read the summary to you guys before, but this book takes place at a zoo that is inhabiting the former prison Alcatraz. Like, the actual prison was refitted to be a zoo, and the time period we're in is sometime in the future when the state of the climate is dire, and it's just like a bunch of natural disasters happening, and it's not really touched on too much, honestly, like what exactly is happening out in the world, but it's just implied that like the climate has made like Earth very uninhabitable. And this zoo in Alcatraz is the last zoo that exists. And there are people, I don't know, this is probably really dumb of me, but I don't know where Alcatraz is, but it's clearly an island, and people on the mainland will like line up some days. They mentioned like when the air quality isn't too bad, and they will protest the existence of Alcatraz as a zoo because people are mad that they're allocating resources to animals instead of humans. So that's where the state of the world is. A lot of these animals are like on the brink of extinction. All of the like vets and zookeepers live there, and then they get their assignments every day. So like all of the zookeepers will rotate who they're watching over. Once a week only, there are tours of the zoo where they allow people who are rich enough to afford a tour to come onto the island, and they get sanitized and everything, and then they can go see the animals, who are all behind like a full glass enclosure so that they aren't contaminated with whatever is out in the world. It's really all a big facade because they use like AI and like, I don't know what the word right now, but they like are projecting like bigger enclosures, and they'll use like treadmills within the enclosure to make it look like the animals can walk like, or feel like they can walk a lot further than they can. So they're making it look a lot better and nicer than it really is for the animals. There's also a new zoologist that starts. Her name is Sailor. Camille is tasked with essentially showing her the ropes that day, and Camille, up until this point, has kind of been like a lone wolf, but she really kind of forms a bond with Sailor. And then we start to get a little backstory on Sailor, who used to work at a Paris zoo, which has just recently closed fully, which makes Alcatraz the last standing zoo. But in this backstory, we're getting that she was a part of a little resistance within the zoo with other zoologists, and all that's happened so far is that they have formed a plot to sneak animals out of the zoo so that they can live a happier life on a reserve that someone knows about. I kind of like the eerie dystopian vibe or undertone that we have going on here. I think that did wake me up a little bit, but like not enough. I need the sun to come out. I cannot wait for the next like month or two when the sun starts rising at 5 a.m., 5:30, whenever it rises in the summer. Because, like, I'll wake up way less of a problem when the sun's already up. But when it's dark outside and my husband is still in bed, that's where I want to be.
Guys, I need you to look at me. I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. again tomorrow. I know I haven't even done it like the whole video, but I don't want to do it again tomorrow. Like a 6 a.m., I'm good, I'm happy. When I wake up at 5 a.m., at 6 a.m., I have like such a huge dip that I might as well have just woken up at 6 a.m. You know what I mean? Like, I would get as much done, I think, if I just woke up at 6 a.m. because I'd be much more rejuvenated instead of just like suffering for an hour. Anyways, if I don't want to do that, you and I both know what needs to happen. And it's finishing this book. I am on page 94. And like I said, there's only about 250 pages. So that's like a doable amount to read in one night. That seems unlikely, but like I want to get this done. Hi, baby. Must you claw me like that? The things that Sailor's rebellious group were doing in Paris when she worked there was releasing animals, and she got caught and fired. And now at Alcatraz, she is trying to do the same thing, and she's making Camille complicit in her crimes, even though she said she didn't want to be a part of it. I don't know if I like either of their characters yet. They're not like they're inherently good characters, but also they're both just a little bit unlikable for some reason. I feel like Camille is like too timid and Sailor is too crass. Okay, I'm putting Gossip Girl back on as some background noise, and I'm getting this done. Or some of it, at least. Piper. She couldn't get on my chest because of the book, so she just laid next to me, but as close as possible. Glad you're cozy.
Hello. It's me and the consequences of my own actions. Hi, buddy. This is the most tired I've been and the least I've wanted to wake up. And it's already like 5:45 because I laid in bed. And it's cold in here. But I read like 10 pages last night only, so here I am. Hi guys, I'm back one more time with a mini mic because Cole is showering and I don't want the background noise in it. I have successfully completed The Island of Last Things, and with that in mind, I have completed all of my books for this video. The Island of Last Things was really good. I give it a 3.5 stars. There is one review I want to share with you guys because it really puts my thoughts into words so nicely and just perfectly describes the way I was feeling when I was reading this. This person said, "This isn't your typical dystopian novel. Don't expect nonstop action or elaborate world building outside the island." Slowly zooms in close, letting us sit with Camille's quiet rituals and her growing connection with Sailor, the new arrival who disrupts her carefully ordered life. I guess I'm not going to read the entire thing because I want to point out a couple things. But yeah, I kind of liked the disconnect from the rest of the world that was this story and its focus on the island, because that is how the main character Camille felt. She really never left the island, and there's not a lot of detail on the state of the world, again, outside of the island. And I did see some reviews that people did not like that aspect, but I kind of did like it because I didn't think that that was necessary information. You knew that the world was not in a good state, and that's really all you needed to know, because the story is about the people and their mindsets and kind of the other things that this review touches on. So prose is stunning, I agree. I loved how the novel balances the personal and the political, showing us that the smallest choices can ripple outward in dangerous and unexpected ways. Alcatraz itself becomes a paradox, a sanctuary, a prison, a symbol of both survival and confinement. Slowly wrings out every ounce of atmosphere from it. The pacing is slow and contemplative, but I found it engaging rather than frustrating. You don't race through this book, you sink into it. I really loved that paradox of Alcatraz again, and I don't think this would have worked if it was just focusing so much on the outside world. This is a place where some of the last animals in the world are being kept and cared for, and honestly, at this point, they're just trying to prevent them from dying. But it does feel eerie because of these unknown political and ecological things that are happening, and because there's a sense of hope, but there's also a sense of everything kind of being futile because they're getting sick anyways, or it's the last of their kind. And so obviously when that one dies, there's no more after that.
Say goodbye, buddy.
Without you.